We're breaking down anything and everything Utica City FC related. This is the Keeper's Corner podcast with your hosts, Matt Sterling and Brandon Brooks. Let's get into it. Hello, welcome to another edition of the Keeper's Corner podcast. Matt and Brandon are back. We are 2 days away from preseason, 1 day by the time you're listening to this, hopefully. And boy, did we have a bomb dropped on Utica City last week.
Oh, just a teensy-weensy little bit. A bit of a game changer for both good and bad reasons, honestly. But overall, a net positive, in my opinion.
Yeah, if you have somehow missed the news, which, if you're listening to the podcast, I assume you haven't, Utica traded Stefan Mijatovic and Quentin to the Empire Strykers. In return, they landed the king, Franck Tayou.
Which is, I'm sorry, not exactly what I would have expected to see for this season, or any season for that matter. I mean, I was shocked when Uzi left the Strikers and went to I almost called them Mesquite, but they're not.
Texas.
The Texas Outlaws. And I know everybody was speculating, okay, is Frank going to go somewhere? Where's Frank going to go? And I mean, he was signed to a contract till 2024 with Empire, but nobody knew. And now we know. And Utica is excited and sad at the same time.
Yeah, I was going to say, they should be, because holy cow, does this guy stuff the stat sheet. 4 MVPs in his career, 373 goals, 115 assists, 2.7 points per game. He is 32 years old. So, I mean, you look around, Ian Bennett's playing in his 40s and still dominating. We could have another decade of dominance left from the king. And if you read the comments on social media, you would think we got nothing in return.
I mean, people see, here's the thing. People became very, very attached to Steph the moment he walked in the door, rightfully so, given his personality, given his stature on the field, his explosiveness, he was very much a presence that we needed on the field at the time. And off the field, he was a fun person to be around anyway. But no, overall, I mean, it from a personal standpoint, and there are, of course, the game repercussions that kind of come with losing him on the defensive side of the house. He is definitely going to be a presence that will be missed in Utica. And I mean, we don't even get to see him this year unless Empire and Utica make it to the, basically the big game.
Yeah, make it to the RNC finals.
So, I mean, but I also don't want to discount Q, because Q was also a great presence on the field. I definitely didn't have anywhere near as many memorable interactions with him off the field as I did with Steph.
Mm-hmm.
But his presence was still felt on the field, and he was still very much a great part of the team. Now, I will definitely miss him, and I will definitely miss Steph. But Frank, that's all I got to say. We got the king, and I couldn't be more excited about it.
Yeah, so personality, I don't know, how Frank will fit in with the team. That'd be a good question for NDI, who played with him last year.
Right.
But let's just talk about what we gave up on the stat sheet. Last year in 11 games, Steph scored 5 goals, he had 5 assists. 17 of his shots were blocked. He blocked 12, 4 blue cards and a red card.
Yep.
You know, he was a little hot-blooded at times.
I mean, very much saw that. At least
he was a guy that wore his heart on his sleeve and played like it. So
yes,
that's what made Utica fall in love with him.
Mm-hmm.
Q had a little bit of a slower season last year, only 3 goals and 2 assists in 20 games. Stepped backwards from his first year in Utica, but he was also dealing with some nagging injuries.
Yes, yeah.
So hopefully he gets a chance to break out a little bit more out there on the West Coast.
Yeah, and of course, both of these guys, we wish him nothing but the best. I mean, they both absolutely deserve, again, nothing but the best for both of them. But yeah, they will definitely be missed for sure.
Yeah, I mean, presence will be missed off the field. Steph back there defensively, which was a huge issue for us last year before he and Toby were on the field together.
Mm-hmm.
Huge issue. We talked about it numerous times about what that did and changed and how much it improved with them back there. It'll be interesting to see how they try to fix that again. But here's what we're getting in Franck, besides those career totals, because they don't tell you anything if you don't know how long he's been playing. In 9 seasons, he has 4 MVPs. He has decent.
At least one of them was recent, if I remember correctly. It was either last year or the year before.
No, last year was Ian Bennett. He went back-to-back in 21 and 21-22. 19-20 when it was shut down early.
Okay. All right.
As the year he had 47 goals and 18 assists in 21 games before COVID.
I was going to say in half a season.
He's carried 4 teams to the finals, has been unable to bring home the Ron Newman Cup. So you want to talk about a player that's hungry? Getting that close once will make you want to get back.
Oh, yeah.
But 4 times, he's going to be desperate. You know, it's going to be something that is obviously not just a goal this season, but every season.
Oh, absolutely.
He scored 38 goals and had 16 assists last year, slightly below his career average at 2.5 points per game, which is still phenomenal.
Yeah.
He's a top 3 offensive player in the league, depending on the day. He did have that red card against Utica where he came down on Nilton. That was if you wanted to break down the social media reaction, it was pretty much broken down into, why are you getting rid of my favorite player? And why do we want this guy when he came down and injured one of our players in a game?
Right. Yeah, that
fair,
was...
No, I was banging that he needs a more severe suspension drum at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I stand by it. I don't believe that the act itself warranted a 2-game suspension like I wanted.
Mm-hmm.
I believe the league needed to set that 2-game suspension to send a message that star players wouldn't be taken, we'll just lightly let it happen.
Yeah.
And then they didn't, and you had all those incidents with, Tavoy Morgan and the Sockers and Mesquite getting into it. And it's like, boy, if you'd sent a message, then you could be more strict here. But that's the review committee.
Agreed. It was.
Look, red cards happen. They're part of the game. He's had 2 in his entire career. So It's not like he is a violent, dirty player all the time. It'll probably take a little bit just for the Utica fans to bury those feelings and push it down, but you have to do that because this guy's here for at least the next 2 seasons and hopefully more.
Yeah, and it's in our best interest to you know, players move around so much in this league, as we have seen every year. I mean, and it happens, of course, in just about any league. You know, players are going to move around, and they might do something one season that rubs you the wrong way, which Frank did. Mm-hmm. And there's going to be others that, you know, there's going to be some that we lose that, you know, are very ingrained in the culture at the time that they leave. But, you know, you kind of got to roll with it. And, you know, I found myself kind of being the same way. Like, you know, it really sucks when we lose certain people that we really like, and then are getting these new people, these new personalities that we then want to learn and try and, I guess you could say, mesh with, and see how that goes. I mean, you know, I met Uzi last season. I didn't get a chance to talk to Frank, but I met Uzi, and I mean, our first interaction was not great on Twitter. However, as soon as we got in person, I mean, we were texting each other. The dude literally sought me out, and I was going to buy him a drink. He was going to buy me a drink, and someone else bought us both drinks. So, I mean, hey, that's just the way it goes sometimes.
Yeah. I mean, I was sitting at that table going like, you think Frank's calmed down enough to ask him to sign the red card that I have?
Oh, yeah.
Through with that. You know, it's a good time. Monday the 20th, season ticket member party pickup at, what's the brewery? The Bag Square Brewing.
Say that 5 times fast.
Season ticket member party pickup at Bag Square Brewing on Monday, November 20th. Okay. I need it written down so I can read it, because otherwise I'm going to keep flip-flopping the way I say. If Frank makes an appearance, it'll be a good chance for Utica fans to, you know, bury the hatchet, put this behind them, and let bygones be bygones.
Yes.
And that is probably the biggest news in the MASL. Not just this off season, but since Utica came into the league.
Mm-hmm. It's definitely, I think, the highest profile signing that Utica's ever had.
Yeah. You know, it's one thing to see guys leave in free agency where they have their own choice. It's another to see two teams trade players who were both signed to extensions in the offseason.
Mm-hmm.
Steph signed a 3-year. And then Frank, we know, signed at least a 2, though in the press release it was described as up to 3 years. So there's probably either a player, team, or a mutual option there.
Yeah, I'm sure that there's plenty of legalese in there to make your head spin.
I'm sorry, I misread his stats. He only had 1 red card in his entire career, and that was this past one, so not 2. Nicknamed the King. We'll just throw this out there. It started because his father was king of a village in Cameroon who got into some political trouble, fled the country seeking asylum, came to the U.S. around 2000, 2001. Eventually, Frank, Uzi, the rest of the family came over. And as a homage to his father, Frank made his Twitter handle King Tayou, and then the MASL fans just kind of ran with it. Which, when you're the first player to 400 career points, 300 career goals, on pace to be the first to 400 career goals and 500 career points, which should both happen this year in Utica.
Yep.
Yeah, you know what? You can keep that nickname.
You've earned it at this point. Which I actually didn't know about that story. So that's actually really interesting. Mm-hmm. So that's, you know, I'm sure a lot of people think that it's just a self-proclaimed thing that, you know, feels he has earned from just his MASL play and not actually having a deeper meaning. So,
yeah, Yeah, I mean, until I think Philly keyed me in on it a few years ago. But I had never been able to find the article until today where they confirmed it.
Very cool. Jeez, you didn't even fill me in about that. Wow.
Well, I gotta bring new stuff to the table. Otherwise, we're just going to rehash the same conversations we've had in group chat. Plenty more player movement around the league. In Utica bringing back Ronaldinho and Gio Alves. And then another big trade today, Jesus Pacheco going from the Strikers to Baltimore, and Lucas Roque going back to the Strikers. Roque wasn't just Baltimore's leading scorer. He was the third leading scorer in the league behind Nick Pereira and Franck Tayou.
Yeah, that still just surprises me that I am just very, very surprised that that they would let someone like Roque go when, he was a very big piece of their arsenal last season. And yeah, I don't fully understand that decision.
Everything I've seen on social media and heard from people who claim to have inside knowledge of the team is that their goal is to get younger and faster so they can keep up with teams when they're away from the coddling fines of CQ Arena. They get out of their little baby crib and have to play on a big boy field.
You got to do more running.
I guess we should note that there is now a third baby field in the league with Monterey playing this one season in a small field.
Oh, fair. Yes, that's very true.
So now we're at 3 out of 13 teams. Roque, he was there for Baltimore's three-peat. He's been with the team forever. These last 2 seasons were his healthiest in his career, playing 21 and 24 games. And during that time, he scored 56 goals and 30 assists.
Not a bad showing.
No, not bad at all. For a minute there, we were thinking the Strikers were going to go through a full rebuild, and they have reloaded quickly.
Still some weird decisions. I still hold pretty steady to that. That was a very big surprise, and I just can't let that one go. I'm very hung up on it at the moment.
Yeah.
So I don't know. We'll see if it works out for him. But what one is it? Oh yes, that's a bold move, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for him. That's the words I was looking for.
Yeah, especially for Baltimore. With Pacheco, hasn't been what you would call a stat stuffer over the past 2 seasons. He's got 25 goals and 14 assists. But it should be noted that 3 of those goals and 2 of those assists came in 2 games against Utica. So he seems to have Utica's number. And I'll keep an eye on him, especially now that he's going somewhere where he should be a bigger part of the offense.
Mm-hmm.
Joey Tavernisi, Onua Abasi being signed by Harrisburg. We're going to see familiar faces there. Harrisburg has quietly added some veteran players to help bolster that rotation of theirs.
Are you trying to say that Harrisburg's trying to bring the heat?
No, I'm trying to say they're just probably not going to be as bad and might win some of those closer games.
You just didn't want to give it to him, did you? You didn't want to give that to me, did you? You just didn't. You're just like, nope, you're not having that one.
Nope. No.
Listen, there is a reason I have a book of dad jokes here. I enjoy the jokes that make people groan.
Well, I mean, anyone with a good sense of humor does, but
don't make me get it out.
What, you gonna throw the book at me?
Yeah, after I'll throw the book at you physically and mentally. I'll throw all these horrible dad jokes at you too. I will torture you both physically and mentally.
Oh, okay, but like I like dad jokes, so.
You know what? I got nothing at that point. You're just a fellow dad joke enjoyer, and I can't fault you for that.
Yeah. Now, for Baltimore or for Harrisburg, you look back through their schedule, and there's a lot of 4-3, 5-4, 5-3. 1 or 2 goal games that are low scoring, which Vosvik looked pretty good in goal for them last year. If their defense can even slightly improve and their offense can even slightly improve, they're going to win more games. You have Monterey in the East. That's going to make things more interesting, even though they played most of their games against the West.
Mm-hmm.
And because the East was so bad last year, it had the bottom dwellers. We have a lot of easy schedules. Or on paper, easy schedules.
On paper, based on past experience,
yes.
And with some asterisks.
Like with any league, the strength of schedule going into the season is not going to be the same strength of schedule that comes out of it.
Right.
Utica's is the 3rd weakest in the league at the moment, though, and that's because you get 12 games against Harrisburg, 3 against St. Louis, and 3 against Kansas City, who are all below you in the standings.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have
so much Harrisburg. So much Harrisburg.
Baltimore was ahead of you in the standings, but if I remember correctly, they either had the same number of wins or here, let's go. Baltimore. Yeah. Baltimore had 6 or 5 more points than Utica, which kept them ahead in the standings. But they went 13-3
mm-hmm.
or 13-11. The difference was they won more games in regulation and lost a couple more in overtime.
Yep. Yeah, we really liked our overtime games last year, and we
were good at our overtime games. Our problem was that we couldn't close out enough games in regulation.
Don't get me wrong. I enjoy winning, regardless of whether it's in overtime or in standard in regulation. But it's always better for us to win in regulation for points.
Yeah. And then the 2 easier schedules in the whole league go to Baltimore and Milwaukee, 2 other teams that should be vying for playoffs in the East.
Yep.
Empire has the toughest schedule simply because they have to play San Diego 6 times. Tacoma's right there with them.
Anybody's got to play San Diego.
Yeah, and they just continue to load up on their team. They added Costa, who player her newcomer of the year last year, and then they added Ruggles. So see how that works out for San Diego, but sometimes it doesn't, as last year shows.
Yeah, even more of a force to be reckoned with, though. I mean, anytime you go against San Diego, it's just like, ooh, it's gonna be a rough and tumble game.
Mm-hmm. No, it's something I wish we got a shot to do, because that one game against San Diego on the blue turf was phenomenal, and we got robbed, and the head of officiating then came out and was like, yeah, they missed this call. Utica got robbed.
Yeah, the fact that they kind of confirmed it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, it just made it burn even more.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, you'll have
And then,
it's
then you have the Twitch chat being like, the officials favor San Diego, and the league's going, no, they don't. And then the head officiating is like, yeah, they did on this play. They just missed. That was one of those plays that led to us getting coaches' challenges.
Yep.
I hope this year we see an update where if you get it correct, you get to keep it for a second one.
I would not hate seeing 1.5.
Yeah.
And yes, integrating in if you use it and you use it correctly, you keep it. I completely agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
With that setup, and I really think that would be a beneficial way of doing it. Because otherwise, you have certain coaches that sit on them, and then you have other ones that just kind of use them right away. Everton. I mean, I tease a little bit, but Everton definitely has used him pretty early a couple of times.
Yeah.
And sometimes correctly, sometimes not so much. So, and you're going to have that. It's how it is. So,
I want to touch on this. The Strikers signed Riley Uri, who has played for Krajishnik's outdoor team in the UPSL. He was the number 2 pick in the MASL Combine Draft. So though he is native to Vermont, someone that has played locally in the Utica area, another guy is going on to the MASL.
Okay. It's okay. We still have Timmy Goldman.
No one has it.
No one has a Timmy Goldman. I'm sorry. Nobody has anything close to a Timmy Goldman.
Yeah, no. Timmy is...
Sorry, I had to throw him in the mix. I couldn't help myself.
One of a kind.
Couldn't help myself. Had to throw him into the mix.
So let's talk roster construction, because that was probably the third biggest concern after that trade. It was, oh my God, you sent away my favorite player. I can't believe you signed this monster who's not a monster. And I should have already mentioned this, but I didn't. He won the 2019 Humanitarian of the Year award for his work raising funds for orphans and other disadvantaged youths in the area.
But he stomped on somebody's ankle.
It was a knee.
Knee, sorry.
God, you're almost as bad as everyone else who keeps going with the wrong people.
Leg. He stomped on his leg.
Yeah, he and Uzi were co-humanitarians of the year for their charity work.
Like I said, Utica, it is time to sweep it under the bridge. It was last season. You can be mad at him all you want. This is a different season. Even if he was not on our team, you would still need to sweep it under the rug. It's not cool to hold a grudge like that.
Yeah.
It's not cool. Even less cool when he's on our team now. Just saying. Anyway.
I mean, it's not like Utica and Empire had a rivalry and, he was holding up a sign or wearing a shirt that said, like, Utica sucks or...
Yeah.
So let's talk roster construction because, like I said, that was the next big thing. The defense being gutted, and gutted it is.
It's a problem.
Last year, we saw that balanced out. This year, we'll have to see how it works. Because at the moment, we have 11 forwards on a 26-man roster. In no particular order. Well, sorry, I guess I should say in jersey number order because that's the way I wrote them down because that's how they are finally updated online. It is Gordy Gerson, Big Mo NDI, Keaton Woods, Taylor Walter Bond, Isak Somau, Franck Tayou, Tim Goldman, the newcomer Cole Stevens, Ronaldinho Diniz, Steven Fernandez, a.k.a. Chino, and Juana Lava. Midfielders. That's our next biggest group. We got 7 of them. I'm sorry, 24 players on the roster at the moment. My math is wrong.
How dare you?
We got Sonic Alex Gomez. We got Nate Bordeaux, the captain. Nilton De Andrade. Christian Segura. Hopefully, barring visa issues, which no one seems to know how those are going to work this year, but everyone's listed as active for now, so fingers crossed.
Absolutely.
Dylan Hundelt, Gio Alves, and Rafa Godoy. And then defense, we have Fabino Fernandez, Ricky Alves, and Darren Toby. 3 defenders.
The 3 amigos defending the goal.
Yes, and in goal, we have the same 3 as last year: Andrew Coughlin, Julian Rodriguez, and Brickwall Brian Wilkin.
So I was just thinking about this. And I actually pulled up at random one of our games this season. Mm-hmm. It's actually our home opener. Pulled up the game sheet just to look at the rosters and compare them across right now as they stand. Harrisburg's not much different. No. Harrisburg has a total of 4 defenders, just 4, and 1 flex, and that's Obasi. Obasi is listed as a mid/defender, so I could see us doing that. I know you and I have both talked about Hundelt, moving him back to defense. He could be a flex. He could do both. He could potentially be be one of our flex defend. We'll just say flex defenders. Let's just go with that. And if I were to, I was trying to think of who I would designate as potentially a second, and then we'd have 5. And I mean, looking through the roster, the only one that the only one that sticks out as being a potential flex is either Rafa or Gio. I'm going between Rafa and Gio. I don't know if they would really end up being, flex defense and midfield, but those are the 2. If I had to pick one of them, it would be one of the 2.
I could see Gio. He played in 8 games for us last year, got a little bit of experience, had 3 goals. If I remember, I know he's a little bit on the shorter side, but kind of a stockier build, if I remember correctly,
Yep.
Someone that can get physical if needed. Alava has always been listed as a forward, but it always seems like he's used more as a midfielder.
Rafa.
You want Rafa?
I said Rafa.
I know. I'm just going through my list. Which, yeah, I could see Gio moving back. Like we said, we've talked about Hundelt. And Mo Ndiaye. Listed as a forward. He played defense last year for the Strykers. It did affect his stats a little bit. So we'll have to see how open he is to returning to that kind of role.
Yeah, I know we're gonna need to do something. It's definitely having 3 defenders and knowing what happened last year with like Correa. We lost a defender. We were down Toby for a while. Then we finally picked up Steph, and things were looking good. We had the defense, and now we're literally back in the same boat again, where we just are a glass cannon. I mean, in the front, we've got a heck of a lineup. In the back, not so much. I mean, you've still got Mr. Stretch in the back. You've still got Brickwall Brian. I mean, those guys are going to perform regardless, but they can't do everything.
No.
You know, you need a good, solid defense. And I know that they have to be going through, you know, I'm sure that they're going through whatever they can. You know, I'm sure Everton's already modeling things appropriately to accommodate and to deal with the lack of defenders that we currently have listed as actual defenders. But I'm very curious to see how they come out swinging in December.
Yeah, because if it turns into another one of those sprints to the finish, conditioning is going to be immensely important.
Absolutely. Like, these guys they're going to run themselves ragged if they're not careful.
Yeah.
And that leads, of course, to injury.
Okay. So I pulled up Mo's stats just to see the difference between when he was playing with St. Louis and then playing with the Strykers. And he took a big hit in stats last year. He went from 43 points the year before to 22 points.
Yeah. Nearly basically a 50% hit.
Well, that'll happen. I mean, 22 points out of the back, that's good.
Oh, yeah.
You got a defender scoring 20, that's fantastic. You know, it's not something you're expecting out of the back.
Nope, not at all.
And his shot selection was better. He was up to 250 instead of 176. And part of that could also be, you know, just not being that big of a focal point in a team that had Adrian Perez and Costa and Pacheco and Nestor Hernandez and Frank and, you know, all these other guys who are well established.
Kind of like what we talked about previously when we got Christian.
Yes.
From San Diego, getting overshadowed by a lot of other talent. And, you know, maybe now he's actually have his time to shine. It depends on where we put him. I mean, I could absolutely see him being on the front line because, you know, we've got some shoes to fill. I mean, I'm not going to say that Bo was the most amazing person on the front line, but he contributed. And I mean, this is absolutely zero offense to Bo, but Frank, as long as he performs, more than makes up for, you know, what we typically would see out of Bo. But I mean, yeah, that's one big pair of shoes that we have to fill. No pun intended.
I think Bo's bigger impact is as a leader who steps up and fills those shoes.
I'm still curious to see if we have a second captain.
Yeah,
because I mean, right now the only one that's still listed is Nate.
Yeah.
And as much as everybody loves Tim, I don't see him as a captain.
No,
not yet.
I love Timmy
Green.
Love Timmy, but I don't see it.
No.
So he was very excited to be back in Utica.
Oh yeah. He's always excited. What are you talking about? He's never not excited.
Look, the Comets hadn't won a game at home all year. He, Gordy, and Alex were there at the game on Saturday night, and they score 6 goals and shut out Rochester. I'm not saying it's related, but
it's that UCFC energy.
So are the Comets.
That's right. Not the Kansas City Comets.
No. The local Comets. Should we call them the Ice Comets?
Could call them the Ice Comets. That would make people know what we're talking about when we talk about the Utica Comets.
Yeah, no.
we probably just have to call them the Utica Comets. I mean, you know,
we'll call them the Red Comets, and we'll call KC the Blue Comets.
But they have a red comet in their logo.
Shh! They play on blue turf.
But I'm literally looking at
jerseys. They wear red.
I'm looking at it. Yes, but we have Audi, or we have not Audi, Naughty, who is red.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of crossover here. I don't like it. It's too much for me.
They got to change the name.
Who's going to change? Kansas City or us?
I
going to
think
rock, paper, scissors for it?
I think if it comes down to it, the Devils can back up Utica and we'll take the name.
We'll take it by force. And then we'll just be the Utica Comets across the board. Next thing you know, the Utica Comets soccer team and the hockey team. We are the Comets. Fear us.
Instead of UCFC, it'll be UCCFC.
We are the Comets now.
Or it'll just change from Utica City to Utica Comets Football Club.
That would work. That's the sad thing. It would work. Uh-huh. It would not change it at all. It would not change a single thing.
All right. That covers roster. Talked about the big trade. We are
kind of a big deal.
2 weeks away from the season. 2.5. So I believe games technically start the week before because of St. Louis always has their Black Friday game.
Yeah, they got a game on the 24th.
Yeah, we are 2 weeks away from Utica games. 2.5. So, threw it out on social media. See what kind of questions people wanted to ask. What do we think is the best rivalry in the MASL headed into this season?
Do we want to do one per division? Because I could think of one per division easily.
Okay.
East, it's got to be Utica and Baltimore. I mean, there is no better rivalry in the East than those two teams. I mean, every single game is a knockdown, drag-out fight. I mean, it's been that way. I'm sure it was that way back with this, maybe in the Silver Knights days. Mm-hmm. It was even more so once it was Utica and Baltimore. I mean, that first season, just every single game was a slobber knocker. For the West, I mean, the main one that would come to my mind in the West it has to be San Diego and Chihuahua. I mean, it's the same thing. Every time those two teams go at it, you don't know who's going to win. Mm-hmm. And for the most part, it's been that way with Utica and Baltimore. Granted, we had one season where they just blew us out the entire season. But in most cases, both of those sets of teams go almost 50-50 against each other, whether it's home or, whether it's on our turf, on their turf, it doesn't matter. People win, lose, and just go all out for all four of these teams in both locations. So, I mean, if I had to pick one rivalry per, those are it.
Yeah, I'm going to agree on the East because I think a key to any good rivalry is both teams need to be competitive.
Yep.
I'll say this as a Yankees fan. The Yankees-Red Sox rivalry the past few years has not been good because one team has not, or both teams have not been competitive.
And that's why Utica, everyone, when Rochester was in our league for that one season, I didn't consider that a rivalry because
it felt like big bro beating up on little bro.
Yeah, it just wasn't a competitive game whenever we went against them. I mean, there was some close calls, but it wasn't. It wasn't a Oh yeah, it's always a fun trip out there.
Sure, but
and it wasn't. I think everyone was more afraid to lose to them than anything. So yeah, I couldn't. Everyone wanted to see that crosstown rivalry. It just wasn't it.
Yeah. In the West, I don't know. I do agree that Chihuahua and San Diego play fantastic games, and they have been the two best teams in their conference for the past two seasons.
Yep.
But I've tuned into enough of the San Diego and you froze. You still there? Okay, you're good. Got worried for a second. It's like, oh no.
No, I'm still here.
Router. Don't tell me it dropped out again like last time. No, it's just back on track. I would say Ontario and San Diego is bigger just because of how close they are. And both teams have believed to be championship contenders for the past 5-6 seasons. They did meet in the finals during that 2021 game, and kind of like Utica, Ontario was on the end of a call that went San Diego's way that some people affiliated with the league have admitted was the wrong call and cost them the game, except that game was the championship game, the deciding factor. There's bad blood between them.
Yeah.
I mean, you have a couple years ago, Pardo collided with Willie Spur and absolutely shattered his leg. I don't know if you remember watching that one.
Nah, I don't remember. I can't say that I do. I think the main injury that sticks out in my head last season was Togba. Like, that's the one injury.
The concussion,
yeah, that one's like, that just kind of overshadows everything for me. Not just because he was a Utica, he's a Utica person, but just, boy, watching it over and over and over again. Oh my God.
Yeah. Let me see if I can find that Willie Spur injury. Because, oh my Lord. I can't even remember what game it came in. But I remember Pardo colliding with him on a play that absolutely had the Twitch chat up in arms. You had...
It doesn't take much for that.
Oh, no. It was... anyone that was not affiliated with the San Diego Sockers, or like not a fan of them in the chat, was calling for a red card and a extreme suspension for the play. And then Sockers guys were in there defending their goalkeeper, as I fully understand. He's your guy.
I was like, his teammates would, yeah.
Uh-huh. I'll have to find it and send you the clip, because it was probably the worst thing I've seen live on TV since Kevin Ware, who played basketball for Louisville, broke his leg shooting a three-pointer, and before the camera cut away, you could see the bone sticking out. And that was like a decade ago. That was the most disturbing thing I've ever seen.
I don't do good with that stuff.
No, it was awful. And yeah, the Willie Spur broken leg, like, atmosphere was taken out, and the game just kind of didn't matter at that point.
Oh yeah, it just sucks. It sucks the air right out of the room.
And there was so much confusion going on. Like, I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly, they yellow carded. I'm drawing a blank on his name. The coach for the Strykers, not the new one, the old one, when they were the Fury. If I was,
oh God! Now
I
you just
met the guy, and I can't. I'm drawing a blank. I've said his name 100 times. But like, he got yellow carded,
yeah,
and then a player got yellow carded, and then the officials actually went and reviewed it, and both those cards got rescinded, and they red carded Pardo.
Norberg.
And then what?
Jimmy Norberg.
Nordberg, yes. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Or the yellow carded Pardo, and he still. I have to find that game again because it was terrifying. But yeah, that was. Those guys just don't like each other. So I give them a slight edge in the rivalry.
Okay. All right. You know what? Going back and speaking on Empire, you know what would have been great, just absolutely nuts, and would have also potentially solved one of our problems as well, if we had gotten both Tayous.
Yeah,
because then we would have had defense as well, because Uzi is a defender. I don't know why that. Actually, I know why I was thinking about that, because I was literally just looking at their roster and saw that, saw his designation as defender, and I mean that would have solved some of our problems with a lack of defense, to an extent, obviously. But
let me see if I can find it, because I think he came back last year and played. Man, I gotta find. I'll do that afterwards. All right, so we have
we got time for that.
Yeah, we have our best rivalries. Let's talk biggest surprise of the offseason. Is it Florida folding? Is it Guadalajara, which we were promised would be coming, being like, actually they can't get it done, so
would it be the trades?
Would it be the trades that have shaken things up?
Shake and bake. I feel like, if I had to pick something, I mean, come on, it would have to be the trades, the most recent ones at that. I mean, if you're talking just absolute shockers, I mean, just the recent trades, I mean, that's what else is there? Like, that is the biggest thing that's, to me, that's just, I don't know, not necessarily changed the game, but just threw me for a loop.
Yeah. I mean, we talked about it beforehand, but I'm fairly certain the only reason that pardon me, the only reason that we ended up with Tayou was because the next best offer was Baltimore, and then Tommy Tanner just like, I can't let that happen.
No.
I will give them whatever they want to not have to face this guy who scored 71 goals in a season the last time he was on a small field for home games.
Yeah, no, I definitely I'm glad that we just kind of jumped on that one.
Yeah, that was probably the biggest. I mean, moving on from Roque, also no small thing.
Yeah, no, he's part of that. Like, I didn't just mean our trade, but I mean the Roque trade. Even seeing like Obasi and Joey going to Harrisburg. I mean, I'm very glad to see Joey not go to Baltimore. That would have hurt even more. But seeing players like that going to Harrisburg, and just overall just a lot of unexpected movement in the off season is really what I think did it for me. It was just a surprise.
No, it is definitely been a more exciting and unpredictable offseason than anything we've seen so far.
Yeah. I mean, there's another one I didn't even think about. Now, granted, he was gone from Baltimore last season as well, but Vinny Dantas going from, granted, Florida didn't exist anymore. Going to Outlaws as well. I'm just going down the list here. Like, there's just so many that you just were staples of their teams, and then they're just gone.
Yeah, a lot of guys changing around. It should make for a more interesting season.
Took the words right out of my mouth. Chris Toth going to the Stars. That's another one. Like, crazy moves. Sorry, I just keep going down the list and I keep finding them as I go. I can't help it. And I know you already mentioned Ruggles. Granted, he's coming from Florida, which doesn't exist anymore, so he's got to go somewhere. And Ricardo Carvalho going to Milwaukee. Which, do we ever hear anything about Dieguez?
I'm assuming, like many other of the players from Florida, he is in visa limbo.
Fair point. Yeah, you're right.
I don't know if they ever actually got everything figured out with them. Yeah. Or if it was more of the, well, it's Florida and we'll make it work.
Yeah.
Because of what that state is.
We're not going to discuss for another time.
Okay, no, that wasn't. Oh, no, the game that I'm thinking of, I'll have to find that Willie Spur injury again.
Have you been stuck on that this whole time?
I have. My brain has been frozen on it. And no, the one that I'm thinking of where Nordberg got thrown out was when the head injury game where Toth got the ball lasered to his face and then was clearly in a head injury and they didn't stop play and game continued. And 2 seconds later, San Diego scored because, of course, the officials don't know how to stop for a head injury.
We've talked about that time and time again, and nothing has changed.
This was the one that happened like a week before Segura got his head knocked against the glass, and the Fury benefited from the officials not knowing how to stop play for a head injury.
Yeah. I'm sure we will complain about the officiating much more this season, as always. Oh, yeah. More to come.
Unfortunately, I'd really like to not, but
I'm sure everyone would love it if we didn't have to complain about it, but somebody's got to do it. And
unfortunately, we're like, let it be us.
Like, I volunteer as tribute.
Here, hold on. Let me open the rule book and point out the exact rule and then be like, this is why they're wrong.
And this is why I've got the stat, man.
Because I want to bring my receipts.
Every time that you find something that they did incorrectly, you're going to start charging them? You're going to start invoicing them?
I might.
Yeah. You never know. Once it starts costing them money, maybe. I'm
going to fine the league for defrauding me.
Let me know how that works out.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll go great. Yeah. All right. Well, if I can find that Willie Spur injury, I will send it to you because it was traumatizing.
Yeah, let me know.
Otherwise, preseason officially starts Wednesday the 15th. That night, there's trivia with Timmy at 72. Tip your cooks for no reason.
I'm going to make sure that it goes to everyone but a specific person. I will find a way.
And then I haven't heard an official date, but I'm sure we will have an exhibition game like we always do.
It would be nice.
I'd like to see them just go, like Krajishnik versus Utica. Bring in the other local team.
That would be fun. Yeah, that would be good. I would like that.
You can throw some of the guy, split the team up 50-50, but let's see what Krajishnik can do. Learn some of the other local player names.
That would be honestly, that would be a great way to introduce the Utica City faithful to that team. Like that would be the way to do it. 5
opportunities to watch doubleheaders.
Yeah. I like that. I like that. See, you're the idea guy.
Uh-huh.
I just follow along. I'm just the knucklehead that just feeds in commentary. So,
sometimes I just get ideas stuck in my head and have to run with them.
Oh, I know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. For anyone that hasn't seen it on our social media, we have a new design up on TeePublic. To welcome Franck Tayou to the Utica City team. It is 4 crowns are black, are 2 different shades of blue and the white, one for each MVP he's won, and it says King of the MASL, all because when I thought King of the MASL, my brain related that to the scene from Borat, where he's checking into the bed and breakfast, and he sits in the chair and is like, King in the castle, King in the castle. So Utica City social media guys, when you're doing your This is Utica City, there's your idea for Frank. You just have him like sit in the beer garden, King of the MASL, King of the, he can drink a Utica club. There you go.
I dig it.
Think we're going to be back to weekly episodes here pretty quick. We'll probably
make a lot of sense.
Yeah. Probably do a preview. I'd say the week in 2 weeks, the week before the season starts. And maybe by then we'll have an idea of what the team looks like after the tryouts and preseason here and probable exhibition.
Yeah, a lot of stuff to look forward to in the coming weeks, for sure. Can't wait for the season to start up again. It makes things it makes it a very busy time, but it's all worth it.
Oh, yeah. Well, we will have fun with the season when it gets here and look forward to making the odd as inhospitable as it has ever been to the opposing fans. Or to the opposing team. The fans are fine. Just, don't let them start a chant like the Comets crowd did when I was there a week ago. Nobody wants to hear 10 little kids cheering for the other team when there are, 3,000 plus Utica fans there not drowning them out.
Oh, yeah. No, it's not going to work out. Yeah, it's really not going to work out for you. Now, granted,
have a good time, enjoy losing, but
if they want to go for it. Just where you are, what you did.
Anything else you want to add, Brandon?
Sogs indeed, they're coming. That's all I got. I just had to hit the button.
Oh, do you want to say the other one too? Do you want to hit the other one?
Oh, don't tempt me. Superstructure. Looking forward to some of those too.
All right. Well, that's everything. Find us on Twitch or Twitter / X.
When did we start doing that?
Not on Twitch. Twitter. We'll be in the chat for the away games sometimes when we can. Yeah, what was I about to say? Find us on Twitter, X, whatever you're calling it these days. I'm going to continue dead naming it as Twitter. Facebook, Instagram, Threads, which I keep forgetting to post there, but I'm trying to remember. I am. We are on Apple Podcast, Google Podcasts until it's dead, and then we'll be on YouTube Music probably before the end of the year. Spotify, obviously, because that is who hosts us. Thank them. And I'm Matt, as always. Thank you for listening.
I'm Brandon, I think. I think that's who I am. That's what we're going with tonight. That's who I am. Yeah.
Right. You got it. That's Venkman. Go Utica. We'll see you guys at the Odd shortly.
Dogs.
Thank you for listening to the Keeper's Corner podcast on whatever podcast app you use. Please make sure to hit that subscribe button so you never miss an episode. If you'd like to interact with us, you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, and Twitter or X, whatever you prefer to call it. We have a TeePublic shop where you can get UCFC player swag or help support the podcast. Thank you. We appreciate it. And one last thing. Go Utica City.